opportunity for publishers like Penn State to make a decision, as we recently did, to supply that market entirely through print on demand rather than warehousing books in England, as we had done for many decades. This arrangement, by the way, works for all of our books except highly illustrated art books, for which the technology has not evolved quite to the point of being able to reproduce images at the level of quality expected in that particular field. Even more recently, Amazon bought out the POD vendor BookSurge, pressuring publishers to use that company as the sole source for print on demand if they wanted to continue having their books listed on Amazon, a heavy-handed tactic that has spawned at least one lawsuit from an association of small presses. And just earlier this month, announced here, Lightning Source announced a new agreement to provide POD service to the giant French publisher Hachette Livre, which will not only make POD available for its own constituent units, but for third parties as well. And Google made it known that 2 million of its digitized books would soon be printed out as paperbacks using the Espresso book machine, another version of this technology that is relatively cheap and can even be installed and used in libraries, as it has already in a few. And I'll show you that if I can remember how to do this. I use a Mac, not a PC, so. Okay. Oh, there I go. Okay. Did that bring up something different? No. Okay. Okay.
Hold.
Here we go.
Oh.
Yep. Got
Okay.
it. Okay. There you go. All right. So this revolution is showing amazing signs of growth, no longer so hidden from the general public, who may come to appreciate that despite Amazon President Jeff Bezos' confident predictions, the printed book is not about to die anytime soon, if ever. It is just this revolution that has given hope to some of us in the university press community that we can eat our cake and have it too. Many of us have long cherished the ideal of open access as basic to our missions as scholarly publishers. We share the same values as the rest of the academic community. We want what we publish to reach as many people as possible throughout the world at minimal expense. That is one of the most important reasons why we work for university presses rather than for commercial publishers, for whom, no matter how much they want to disseminate knowledge, also are ultimately driven by the imperatives of the market economy and the need to satisfy shareholders. At the same time, like our commercial counterparts, though, we run businesses that are obliged to pay their bills. And if you want to know the single dominant reason that the Association of American University Presses differs from the Association of Research Libraries on most copyright issues, that is your answer. Our parent universities, so far at least, have not shown themselves willing to pay all of our costs up front, so that we can cease worrying about who is stealing our property. I put "our" in scare quotes because university presses, with a few rare exceptions, do not themselves own any intellectual property, but simply manage it on behalf of their parent universities. When we see state systems like Georgia's play fast and loose with interpretations of fair use that allow for virtually unrestricted course-back copying, we get alarmed because such practices, if they were to become widespread, would dry up a pool of revenue that all of us depend on today to help meet the goal of covering about 90% of our operating costs. Sure, this income may not much exceed 5% of our overall budgets, but if any of you have been through exercises when you have to cut that much out of your budgets in already lean and efficiently run operations, you may appreciate more why we rush to use copyright law to defend our interests, which are defined for us by the budgetary strictures of our parent institutions. But I digress. What I want to emphasize here is that print on demand affords an opportunity for presses to experiment with open access without losing their shirts economically. Now, the National Academies Press pioneered in this experimentation, began posting all of its books online beginning in the mid-1990s. I think by the year 2000 it had practically all of its backlist up, and then moving forward added all the new titles. It invented a mechanism that allowed people to browse an entire text online using sophisticated search tools, but imposed certain constraints on their downloading, printing out the whole book. The DPI resolution, that is dots per inch, was fine for reading on screen, but when printed out, looked like old newsprint, even harder on the eyes than prolonged reading on screen. And it required users who want a large number of pages to press a button to print each page, making this a very laborious and time-consuming task for anyone who wanted to read a long book. What National Academies Press discovered and had hypothesized in advance, however, was that the online accessibility of the books would provide an analog to the experience of browsing in a bricks-and-mortar bookstore, which many people like to do before making the decision to purchase. As a result, NAP experienced increases in sales of its books compared with sales it had experienced for comparable books in the past. And besides POD versions, NAP also sold its books as PDFs, though this constituted only about 15% of overall sales, according to NAP's Michael Jensen, who quoted this figure to me in a recent email. There were also some problems with unauthorized super distribution of some of these titles, I understand, especially the more trade-oriented books under its Joseph Henry Press imprint. There's no digital rights management in the PDFs that they sold, so anyone who wanted to could actually put it up online and super distribute it everywhere. I mean, they weren't supposed to do that, and they were told not to do it, but they did it anyway. NAP thus had the happy outcome of being able to increase or at least sustain its revenue while being able to fulfill its mission of disseminating knowledge for its constituent scientific groups ever more widely throughout the whole world. And I want to show you a page from, get back here, from NAP's site just to show you what this looks like. Doesn't work very fast. No, I'm not getting back to the page.
Is it a link that's in your Word document?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Right there. That first
There.
arrow. There you go.
This is one of my favorite National Academy Press books, and I'll scroll down the thing. See down here at the bottom, each of these chapters is available. You can simply click on that link and go right to the page with the chapter, and what you find first is an HTML version, and then if you want to get the actual page image as it appeared in the book, you can click on that and read that. So effectively, you can read the whole thing online, but as I said, when you print it out, you have to go click page by page to actually get the whole book. So nobody really wants to do that, which is why their book sales had increased. Envy can breed opportunities. So when we at Penn State Press were making plans to launch an Office of Digital Scholarly Publishing as a joint operation of the press and libraries, one idea that came to mind immediately with the extra stimulus provided by the interest expressed by two departments at Penn State was to revive the dormant Penn State Studies in Romance Literatures, expand its scope, and relaunch it online as the Romance Studies series, following the model that NAP had provided a decade earlier. We did not know, of course, whether what had worked for the sciences would work for the humanities, so one goal was precisely to see if the combined online POD approach could work in other areas. Another motivation for Penn State was to enable the extension of the DPUB's open source platform, which Penn State had joined with Cornell in developing further under a Mellon grant, from journal publishing into monograph publishing. The libraries decided not to follow exactly the model used by NAP. Instead of the constraints on DPI and printing one page at a time, our site provides each chapter in the book as a PDF with half of the chapters downloadable and printable at normal 300 DPI, while the rest can be viewed online but not downloaded or printed, thus preserving the incentive to buy for some readers who might want the convenience of having the entire text in an affordable paperback format. I wasn't initially happy with this decision because I admired the NAP approach so much, But over time, I reconciled myself to it, and I don't believe it has ultimately made any practical difference.